We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Seneca. Right now, you're living in a loop, the same routine, the same thoughts, the same results. You wake up, go to work, come home, and repeat. But deep down, you know something is missing. What if I told you that in just 7 days, you could become a completely different person? Not just a slightly improved version of yourself, but someone so transformed that even your closest friends and family would take a second look. This isn't a gimmick. This is real. The problem? Most people wait. They wait for the right moment, for motivation to strike, for life to magically change. But the Stoics knew better. They understood that transformation happens the moment you decide to take action. Not tomorrow, not next year, right now. This isn't about making small improvements. This is about reinventing your mind, your body, and your presence. It's about adopting a Stoic mindset that will make you unshakable, commanding respect, and unlocking a level of self-discipline you never thought possible. Are you ready to leave the old you behind and step into your highest potential? Drop "I'm ready" in the comments, and let's begin your 7-day transformation. Because the best version of you is waiting. Day 1, destroy the old self. Seneca once said, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. But most people misunderstand this. They crave transformation, they dream of a radical shift, yet they cling desperately to the very identity that keeps them stagnant. They want change without destruction, growth without sacrifice, rebirth without fire. But that's not how it works. Change is violent. Change is destruction. You do not evolve by simply adding good habits on top of bad ones. You evolve by burning down the old version of yourself and building from the ashes. You might think, but I can't change in just one day. And you're right. But here's the truth. If you commit to discipline for just 7 days, you won't just improve, you'll become unrecognizable. If you push it further, for 4 weeks, this will no longer be an effort. It will no longer require willpower. It will become instinct. That is why day 1 is demolition day. Before you construct something great, you must first clear the rubble. Before you build a stronger, sharper, more resilient version of yourself, you must kill the habits, the thoughts, and the patterns that have kept you weak. Seneca believed that most suffering is self-inflicted. Not by external events, but by the things we refuse to release. We carry our old failures like battle scars, our past mistakes like chains. We refuse to cut ties with who we were, and so we never step fully into who we could be. We do not let go, and then wonder why we remain stuck. Marcus Aurelius understood this. He trained himself to ask, is this necessary? He believed that most thoughts, most habits, and most fears were distractions, weights keeping us from moving forward. He saw the truth that most refuse to acknowledge. If you do not destroy what no longer serves you, it will consume you. You know exactly what is holding you back. The question is, will you do what is necessary to break free? A man once believed he could never be an early riser. Every morning, he fought against the alarm clock like it was an enemy, hitting snooze until the last possible second. He wasn't just delaying his morning, he was delaying his life. He wanted to wake up at 5 a.m. to reclaim his time, to take control of his discipline. But he failed, again and again. On the first day, he set the alarm for 5 a.m. He failed. He woke up at 7, frustrated and defeated, telling himself, I knew I couldn't do this. The second day, the same. His old identity fought back hard. The version of himself that thrived on comfort whispered, it's okay, you can try again tomorrow. And so, he repeated the same pattern, but then he changed the approach. Instead of 5 a.m., he aimed for 6:30. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. The next day, another 6:30. A few days later, he made it to 6. The pattern shifted, the momentum built. The habit that once controlled him was now bending to his will. A month later, he woke up at 5 a.m. without hesitation, without a fight, without an alarm. His body and mind had adapted, not because of motivation, not because of luck, but because he had the courage to destroy the version of himself that needed comfort more than discipline. Most people fail because they try to rip out an old habit in one move. They try to overhaul their life in a single act of willpower. But the mind resists sudden change. It clings, it fights back. The key isn't brute force, it's gradual destruction, controlled demolition. Imagine a massive concrete wall standing in front of you. It's built from every excuse, every self-sabotaging habit, every lie you've told yourself about who you are. You don't take one swing and expect it to collapse. You hammer at it, crack by crack, day after day. And then one day, it crumbles. Right now, that wall exists within you. It is made of your past failures, your limiting beliefs, and your destructive habits. It is the voice in your head that says, "You can't." But today, you take the first swing. You will sit down and write everything that has held you back. Not vaguely, specifically. The way you procrastinate, the way you avoid discomfort, the way you justify your weakness. Then you will destroy it, burn it, shred it, erase it. Make it clear, this version of you does not survive past today. It will feel uncomfortable. Your mind will resist. That's a sign you're doing it right. If it doesn't hurt, you're not letting go. And if you don't let go, you will never move forward. Nothing changes unless something is destroyed. And if you refuse to destroy your limitations, then they will continue to define you. But if you have the courage to burn what's holding you back, something else will rise from the ashes, a version of you that no longer needs to be saved. Day 2. Embody strength. You can recognize a powerful person before they even speak. Their posture commands respect. Their gaze is steady, their movements deliberate. They don't demand attention, it naturally gravitates toward them. They move with certainty, their presence alone enough to shift the energy in a room. There's no hesitation, no second guessing. They own their space. Now compare that to someone who shrinks when they enter a room. Shoulders slouched, gaze down, hands fidgeting. Their voices waver, and their energy dissipates before they even open their mouth. You don't need to hear them speak to know they lack confidence. The way you hold yourself dictates how the world responds to you. It's a silent language that speaks before you do, influencing how others perceive your strength, credibility, and value. And the best part? You can control it. You don't need to be the loudest. You don't need to be the biggest. But you must embody someone worth listening to, someone worth respecting. That's why day 2 is about embodiment, aligning your physical presence with the person you are becoming. Right now, your body reflects your past habits, your past mindset, and your past discipline. If you want to become unrecognizable, that transformation must start from the outside as much as it does from within. Andrew never thought much about body language. He wasn't weak, but he wasn't strong. He wasn't timid, but he wasn't confident. He existed somewhere in between, a ghost in his own life. At work, his ideas were ignored. In social settings, people overlooked him. He blended into the background, unnoticed, unremarkable. It wasn't because he lacked intelligence or talent. It was because he carried himself as if he were invisible. Then one day, while sitting in a cafe, he overheard a conversation that changed everything. Two men were discussing confidence, debating whether it was something you were born with or something you built. One of them leaned in and said, "If you stand like a leader, people will treat you like one." Andrew brushed it off at first. Could it really be that simple? But that night, curiosity got the best of him. He stood in front of his mirror and took a long, hard look at himself. His posture was slightly slouched, his stance uneven, his gaze unfocused. He straightened up, squared his shoulders, and lifted his chin. It felt unnatural, forced, like he was pretending to be someone else. But he kept at it. The next day he walked into work differently. Back straight, steps measured, eyes up, people noticed, conversations shifted. For the first time, he felt like he was being seen. But that wasn't enough. He realized something deeper. He wasn't just adjusting his posture, he was adjusting his identity. If he wanted to embody confidence, he needed to go further. So he trained hard. He pushed himself through exhaustion, through doubt, through every excuse his mind conjured up. It wasn't just about muscles, it was about mastery. The first few weeks were brutal. His body resisted. His mind tried to negotiate. "Skip today, you've done enough." But he didn't listen. He showed up, rep after rep, day after day. 3 months later, everything had changed. His voice was stronger, his presence unshakable. He didn't just look confident, he was confident. He had rewired himself, inside and out. Imagine a sword. Before it becomes a weapon, it is nothing but raw metal, weak, shapeless, unrefined. It must be forged in fire, hammered relentlessly, sharpened to perfection. Only then does it become something powerful. Right now, you are unshaped metal. Your body, your posture, your movement, all of it is a reflection of your past conditioning. If you do not refine it, if you do not push it through discomfort, you remain dull and ineffective. That's why the Stoics deliberately put themselves through hardship. Seneca, despite his wealth, chose to sleep on the ground to train himself against luxury. Epictetus, born a slave, endured years of hardship without resentment. They knew that comfort weakens and discipline strengthens. Your training is not just about strength, it's about resilience, about developing the ability to endure. If you can push through one more rep, one more second in the cold shower, one more moment of discomfort, you are training your mind just as much as your body. Your mind follows your body. When you stand taller, move with purpose, and breathe deeply, you're not just faking confidence, you're rewiring yourself to become it. Tonight, when you stand in front of the mirror, straighten your spine. Keep your head up, hold your own gaze. It will feel unnatural at first, but that's because you're used to something less. Tomorrow, when you walk, own your space. Plant your feet firmly, move with purpose, and let your presence be known without a single word. And when you train, push harder. Not for aesthetics, not for vanity, but because your body is the vessel for your discipline. By the end of this, you won't just look different, you'll move differently, you'll carry yourself differently, and the world will take notice. But first, you must endure the fire. Tomorrow, we sharpen the mind. Day 3, reprogram your mind. A tree planted in a small pot will never reach its full height. Its roots, capable of spreading far and deep, remain confined, restricted by the space around them. Over time, it stops trying to grow beyond its limits because it accepts the boundaries imposed on it. Not because it lacks the ability, but because it has been conditioned to believe that's as far as it can go. Now think about yourself. How much of your life is dictated by old mental patterns? How often do you hesitate, not because you can't do something, but because your mind has convinced you that you can't? How many of your fears, hesitations, and self-doubts come not from reality, but from a script you've been following for years? One that was written by past failures, by the fears of others, by a mindset that no longer serves you. Your mind is the architect of your identity. But if you allow outdated beliefs to control it, you will remain trapped in a version of yourself that should have been left behind. That's why day 3 is about reprogramming your mind. Because until your thoughts align with the person you are becoming, your body, your habits, your actions, they will always pull you back to who you were. There was a man who lived his life convinced that he was destined to fail. Every opportunity, every challenge, every moment where he could have stepped forward, he hesitated. Not because he wasn't capable, but because his mind whispered, "You always mess things up. You never finish what you start. You're not the kind of person who succeeds." It didn't start this way. Years ago, a single failure planted the first seed of doubt. Maybe it was a bad grade, a rejection, a moment of embarrassment. Over time, that seed grew. And like a vine, it wrapped itself around every decision, every action, every dream. He didn't realize it, but his mind had become his own worst enemy. Every attempt at self-improvement was met with resistance. A gym membership that went unused, a new skill was abandoned after a few days. A job application was never sent because he assumed he wouldn't get it. Then one day, he saw something that stopped him in his tracks. A childhood friend, someone he once considered no more talented or ambitious than himself, was thriving. Successful career. Strong, confident, and completely in control of his life. That moment shattered something inside him. The difference wasn't intelligence, it wasn't luck, it wasn't resources, it was the mindset. His friend had broken free of the mental prison he was still trapped in. So he made a decision. For 1 month, he would not allow a single self-defeating thought to go unchallenged. Every time his mind whispered, "You can't," he would counter it with, "Then prove it." At first, it was exhausting. His mind resisted. The old identity fought back. His first attempt at a new routine felt unnatural and uncomfortable. He almost quit. Almost. But each time he overpowered a doubt, each time he refused to let a negative thought control him, something shifted. The first week, he forced himself to finish a book instead of quitting halfway. Second, he applied for jobs he once thought were out of reach. By the end of the month, He wasn't just acting differently, he was thinking differently. Because his mind, once a prison, had become a weapon. Imagine standing at the edge of a cliff. Below you, an ocean stretches into infinity. The wind is strong, the height is dizzying. Every instinct tells you to step back, to stay where it's safe. But if you don't jump, you will never know what it's like to fly. Your thoughts are that cliff. They can be a barrier, stopping you from ever taking off. Or they can be the edge from which you launch into something greater. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius practiced negative visualization, mentally preparing for obstacles before they arrived. Not to dwell in fear, but to train his mind to be unshaken. If something bad happens, it does not break him. He is already prepared for it. Epictetus taught that we do not control what happens, only how we interpret it. A rejection can be seen as proof of failure or a redirection to something better. A setback can be seen as defeat or as training for resilience. The choice is always yours. But to make that choice, you must first take control of the voice in your head. Tonight, as you reflect, become aware of your thoughts. What stories are you telling yourself? What beliefs are shaping your actions? Write them down, not vaguely, specifically. Identify the narratives that keep you weak. Then, for the next 7 days, challenge every limiting thought. If you think, I can't, respond with, then prove it. If you think I'm not ready, act as if you are. If you feel resistance, step toward it instead of away from it. Your mind will fight back. It will try to keep you in the same patterns. But the more you resist its pull, the weaker its grip becomes. Because once you stop thinking like the old you, there's nothing left to hold you back. Tomorrow, you step into a presence that cannot be ignored. Day 4, command presence. A lion does not beg to be noticed. It moves with purpose, exuding power in silence. It does not roar to prove its dominance. It simply is. The world recognizes its strength without needing an explanation. Now think about the last time you met someone whose presence commanded the room. They didn't have to be loud. They didn't have to fight for attention. They simply existed in a way that made you notice them. Their presence alone carried weight. It wasn't arrogance, it was a certainty. Compare that to someone who fades into the background the moment they step inside. Their shoulders were slightly hunched, their gaze avoided eye contact, their body language shrinking into itself. They don't demand respect because, in their own mind, they don't deserve it. And the world reflects that. If you act like you don't belong, people will believe it. If you move like you own your space, people will respect it. That's why today is about cultivating presence, reconstructing how you carry yourself, how you move, how you are perceived. Because whether you realize it or not, you are always communicating something. The question is, are you in control of the message? Imagine 2 ships at sea. One has a strong, steady captain at the helm, guiding it through storms, adjusting course when needed, and commanding every moment with precision. The other is lost, aimless, drifting wherever the waves decide to take it. One is in control. The other is at the mercy of everything around it. Your presence works the same way. Either you command your environment or your environment commands you. Every gesture, every glance, every pause in conversation is either a signal of control or a surrender to uncertainty. Confidence is not about volume, it is about restraint. Weakness overcompensates, it rushes to fill silence, to move too much, to talk too much, to seek approval. True confidence? It stands firm, steady, knowing that stillness carries more weight than noise ever could. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. He knew that power was not in being the loudest voice in the room, but in being the most composed. He once wrote, "A real man doesn't give away his dignity, no matter what is happening around him." That is why the most influential figures in history weren't always the ones who spoke the most, but the ones whose words mattered because they weren't wasted. Their silence had weight, their stillness had power, and when they did speak, the world listened. Try something right now. Sit still. Not in a forced, stiff way, but in a way that feels deliberate. Keep your shoulders relaxed, your spine straight, your breathing slow. Hold yourself as if you own the moment. Most people can't do this. They fidget, they shift, they feel exposed, because presence requires control. It forces you to be aware of yourself. And that awareness, it makes people uncomfortable, because it reveals just how much they usually shrink themselves. Now when you walk, walk with purpose. Don't shuffle, don't rush, don't look down. Move as if every step matters, because it does. And when you speak, slow down. Don't fill the silence with unnecessary words. Let the pause between sentences carry weight. Let people lean in instead of tuning out. The greatest communicators in history understood this. It is not about how much you say, but how much power you put behind your words. The less you speak, the more people listen. Most people seek validation. They try to prove their worth with excessive words, exaggerated movements, and unnecessary noise. They fill the air with distractions, afraid that silence might expose their insecurity. But power? Power is quiet. It does not ask for permission. The moment you stop seeking validation, the moment you stop trying to be noticed, people will start paying attention. Think of an ancient warrior standing before battle. He does not pace nervously and does not chatter mindlessly. He breathes, he watches, he stands firm. And in that stillness, he is more intimidating than the loudest man on the battlefield. That is presence. That is what people remember. Not words, not noise, but energy. To become unrecognizable, you must master this. Tonight, when you are alone, practice stillness. Sit in silence. Observe your own body language. Become aware of every habit that makes you smaller. And tomorrow, when you step into the world, carry yourself like someone who owns their space, because you do. Tomorrow, we take relentless action. Day 5, relentless action. A river does not ask for permission to flow. It moves, it carves through mountains, breaks through obstacles, and reshapes the land. Not because it waits for the right conditions, but because it never stops. This is the nature of action. The more you hesitate, the harder it becomes to move. Every second spent overanalyzing, waiting for the perfect time, and debating whether you're ready is a second lost to inaction. Most people are trapped in the illusion of movement. They plan, they visualize, and they tell themselves they'll start soon. But soon never comes. Because hesitation is a trap. The longer you stay in it, the deeper it pulls you down. That's why Day 5 is about relentless execution. No waiting, no perfect timing, no endless strategizing. Because clarity comes from action, not from thinking about action. I once knew a man who could never sit still. He was always moving, always pushing forward. Not because he had more energy than others, not because he was smarter, not because he had a better plan, but because he refused to let inactivity steal his life. I met him years ago when we were both struggling in different ways. He wasn't particularly talented, didn't have the best connections, and didn't start with any special advantage. What he did have was an obsession with movement. While others debated their options, he had already made a decision. While they hesitated, he had already started. He would fail, adjust, fail again, adjust again, but he never stopped moving. At first, people laughed at him. They called him reckless and impatient. They told him to slow down, to plan better, to wait for the right moment. But he never listened. He didn't wait for permission to succeed. He just kept going. Years later, I watched as those same people, the ones who hesitated, who planned endlessly, who feared making mistakes, were still in the exact same place. And him? He had built a life they could only dream of. Not because he was the smartest, not because he was the most gifted, but because he moved when others stood still. Imagine two archers. One holds his bow, aiming carefully, adjusting for the wind, and calculating the perfect shot. He waits, he hesitates, he overthinks. And before he ever releases the arrow, the target moves. He missed his chance before he even took it. The other? He draws, shoots, adjusts, and shoots again. His first shot might be missed, but with each attempt, he refines his aim. By the time the first archer is still thinking, the second has already become a master. This is how you separate those who succeed from those who don't. It is not intelligence. It is not talent. It is not luck. It is action. The Stoics understood this deeply. Seneca once said, "Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity." But most people misunderstand this. They prepare endlessly but never act, so the opportunity never arrives. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Stop thinking about what you need to do it. Right now, there is something in your life that you've been putting off. You know exactly what it is. It's the thing that lingers in your mind, the thing you keep saying you'll start tomorrow, next week, next year. Stop waiting. Move now. Not in a day, not in an hour, now. If you don't know where to start, it doesn't matter. Start anywhere. Make a move. Adjust later. You do not need confidence to take action. Action creates confidence. The more you move, the more momentum you build. And once you have momentum, nothing can stop you. Think of a train at full speed. It doesn't hesitate at every turn. It doesn't stop to question whether it's moving in the right direction. It moves forward. And if an obstacle appears, it breaks through it. Now imagine another train, one that never leaves the station. It sits waiting for perfect conditions, waiting for the track to be completely clear, waiting until it feels ready. One move, one waits, one reaches destinations, one never leaves. Which one are you? If you have something to do, start it. If you have a goal, take one step toward it today. If you have a decision to make it. The world does not wait for those who hesitate. It rewards those who act. Day 6. Architect your system. A pilot does not wake up and wonder if he feels like flying a plane. He follows a system. Every lever, every calculation, and every action is executed according to a structured, repeatable process. There's no guesswork, no emotions, no waiting for inspiration. The system ensures that the plane takes off, whether he feels motivated or not. Your life must operate the same way. If you rely on motivation, you will fail. Motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes, but a system, a structured, disciplined approach to your habits, ensures that you move forward even when you don't feel like it. Right now, you already have a system in place. The question is it leading you toward success or keeping you trapped in mediocrity? Every day, you repeat actions that shape your future. But most of these actions, they are designed for stagnation. You wake up and check your phone before you even get out of bed. Not because you chose to, but because your system is built that way. You waste time on distractions not because you lack discipline, but because your system allows it. You cannot outperform a broken system. And if you want to become unrecognizable, you must destroy the one keeping you weak and construct a new one that guarantees success. Imagine two builders, both tasked with constructing a skyscraper. One of them is methodical. He starts with the foundation, reinforcing every structure, ensuring that what he builds can withstand the weight of time and pressure. The other, impatient. He stacks bricks without planning, rushes to see results, and builds too quickly. And at first, his building rises faster, but the foundation is weak, and when pressure comes, it collapses. This is how most people approach self-improvement. They chase quick results, extreme routines, and unsustainable habits. They want instant transformation, so they go all in until they burn out. Because without a system in place, progress is temporary. Marcus Aurelius understood this. He wrote, "If you are disturbed by anything external, it is not the thing itself that troubles you, but your judgment about it." A man with a strong system does not panic when obstacles arise. He simply adjusts and moves forward. The Stoics knew that discipline was not about occasional bursts of effort. It's about consistency. Epictetus believed that the key to mastery was not willpower, but habit. What you do daily becomes who you are. If you want to be disciplined, you must make discipline automatic. Right now, there are things in your life that you want to change. You might want to wake up earlier, exercise more, and improve your focus. But if you rely on willpower alone, you will fail. Willpower is a finite resource. It drains. It fluctuates. That's why the most disciplined people in the world don't rely on it. They rely on systems. A system removes the need for daily decision-making. It eliminates friction, streamlines success, and ensures that progress happens automatically. If you want to work out consistently, don't rely on motivation. Create an environment that makes skipping the gym harder than going. If you want to stop wasting time, remove distractions instead of trying to resist them. If you want to read more, make it part of your nighttime routine. No negotiations, no excuses. The more you automate discipline, the less effort it takes to be the person you want to become. Think of a sculptor working on a masterpiece. He does not strike randomly, hoping for the best. Every movement is calculated, and every cut is intentional. If he were to chisel mindlessly, he would ruin the sculpture before it even had a chance to take form. Your life is no different. If your actions are random, your results will be random. If your success is based on mood and emotion, you will be inconsistent at best and stagnant at worst. That's why systems outperform goals. A goal is a destination. A system is the vehicle that ensures you get there. If you want to become a different person, stronger, more disciplined, more capable, you need to stop relying on short bursts of inspiration and start constructing an environment where discipline is the default. Tonight, take a brutally honest look at your current habits. What parts of your day are strengthening you and what parts are keeping you weak? Write down 3 habits that are holding you back. Then, replace them. Not tomorrow, tonight. Remove obstacles. Structure your day. Make discipline easier than laziness. Because when you have a system in place, success is no longer a question of if, but when. Day 7, Mastery and Evolution. A sword is not forged in a single strike. It is heated, hammered, shaped, and refined over and over again. Even when it looks sharp, even when it seems complete, a true weapon is always honed, always perfect. This is your final day. But it is not the end. It is the beginning of something far greater. The past week has been about transformation. Breaking old habits, embodying discipline, reshaping your mindset, and setting the foundation for a version of yourself that is unrecognizable from who you were. Now comes the real test. Because anyone can change for a week, but the ones who truly evolve are those who never stop. Mastery is not a finish line. It is a commitment to lifelong growth. Imagine an athlete who trains intensely for 7 days. They push themselves, discipline themselves, and build momentum. But on the 8th day, they stop. They return to old habits, old routines, and old ways of thinking. All the progress made in those 7 days? Wasted. Now imagine another athlete, one who understands that growth is not a temporary project, but a lifelong commitment. They don't rely on motivation. They don't quit when they reach a milestone. Instead, they see every achievement as the foundation for the next. The difference between these two people is simple. One sees success as a goal. The other sees it as a process. The Stoics believed in constant refinement. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Just that you do the right thing. The rest doesn't matter." No applause, no recognition, no need for external validation. A Stoic does not train for a single event, they train for life. Epictetus taught that the greatest danger to a strong man is complacency. The moment you believe you have arrived is the moment you start to decay. This is why the strongest, most disciplined people in history never stop learning, never stop sharpening their skills, and never stop challenging themselves. You have built something in these last 7 days. Now your job is to protect it. Think of a fire. When it first starts, it is fragile. A single gust of wind can put it out. It needs attention, fuel, and protection to grow. But if fed properly, it becomes unstoppable. A fire that has burned for days, for weeks, for months, nothing can put it out. It becomes self-sustaining. Your discipline, your transformation, your new identity. Right now, it is like that small flame. If you neglect it, it will die. If you feed it, it will consume everything in its path and reshape your entire life. That's why you cannot let up now. Most people quit after a short burst of progress. They relapse into comfort. Why? Because transformation is uncomfortable. The human brain craves familiarity. It wants to return to the old ways, to the predictable, to the easy. You will feel resistance. You will have days where the old self whispers, "Take a break, skip today, it won't matter." But it does matter, because every day you choose discipline, you weaken the voice of the old self. Every time you reject comfort, you solidify the identity of the new you. Every action you take is a vote for the person you are becoming, or a vote for the person you left behind. So cast your votes wisely. Right now, take out a piece of paper. Write down who you were 7 days ago. Describe the old self, the habits, the excuses, the mindset that kept you trapped. Then write down who you are now. And finally, write who you will be 1 year from today if you refuse to slow down, if you refuse to let this fire die out. Burn the first paper. Let go of the old self. Keep the second and third. This is your map. This is your proof that you can transform. And from this moment forward, you do not look back. Mastery is a daily choice. You do not reach a final level. You do not arrive. There is always another layer of discipline, another level of strength, another test to overcome. And that's why most people fail. They think once they've achieved something, they can relax. But the great ones, the truly unrecognizable ones, know that every ending, is just a new beginning. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." You will face setbacks, you will face resistance, but if you keep moving, if you keep sharpening yourself, if you refuse to return to the old you, then nothing will stop you. You are not the same person you were 7 days ago. The only question now is, who will you be 7 days from now? The fire is burning. Keep feeding it. In just 7 days, you have done what most people spend a lifetime avoiding. You have faced yourself, dismantled old patterns, and begun rebuilding from the ground up. But understand this. True transformation is not measured in a week. It is measured in every decision, every habit, and every moment that follows. The foundation has been laid, but now you must strengthen it. You must commit to the path of continuous growth, where every action is intentional, where every obstacle is an opportunity, and where every challenge sharpens you into something stronger. Discipline is not an event, it is a way of life. The Stoics believed that mastery is a daily practice. Marcus Aurelius trained his mind every morning to meet the day with strength. Seneca embraced hardship to fortify his spirit. Epictetus taught that true freedom comes from mastering oneself. Their wisdom remains unchanged because the human struggle remains unchanged. Now, it is your turn to carry that wisdom forward. Do not let these 7 days be just another experiment. Let them be your new standard. Keep refining, keep sharpening, keep becoming unrecognizable to the version of yourself that once settled for less. And if you ever doubt your progress, remember where you started. Look at who you were before this journey began. Then remind yourself that the person you are now is only the beginning. What did this experience teach you? Share your story in the comments. Let this be a space where transformation is not just spoken about but lived. Your fire is burning. Now, make sure it never dies.